Good morning and welcome to Hsu's. We are very sad we can't have our workshops as usual this year due to COVID. I do hope everybody's being safe. So we thought this would be a great way to come and see you and to invite us into your home and do workshops. So what we're going to talk about today is kissing ball kits. In the kit, in the box you get, it's going to be everything you need to make a kissing ball. Okay, so I'm going to very briefly go through what's in the kit. So you're going to have a styrofoam ball and a hanger. And then you're going to have a bag of stuff and a whole bunch of greens. And these are called greens, bows, whatever you want to call them. That's fine. So in your kit is going to be a styrofoam ball and a hanger. Now, I am a recycling nerd, so please ignore that I'm reusing this ball. But I stuck the hanger through the bottom. And then I gently wrapped the bottom of the wire around a stick. And all this is intended to do is to hold that when you pull it, it just keeps the wire in there. Because if you didn't have something on here and you hung it up in the weight, it would just pull right off. So that's what this is. And if it's not perfectly straight up and down, don't worry about it. Nobody's going to notice that. And then also in your kit is going to be a coupon for future purchases with us. You have ribbon, you have decorations, you have wire. So basically everything you need to do a kit. So we're going to set this stuff aside for now, and we're going to work with the styrofoam ball and the hanger and the greens. Now, if you can, it's best if you can hang this to work on it. Freeze your hands up. If you can't, you can certainly do it by just holding on to it. What I'm going to do is take my greens, and we have a couple different greens here today. In your kit, you're going to see it's mostly balsam. And these are all local grown and local materials, but you're gonna have a couple different kinds of greens. So this is a balsam, but it's what we call a flat. And what that means is the needles come off relatively horizontal to the branch. There's not a lot of texture here. Or a double. And this one, what's different is those needles are coming off all the way around. So there's a lot more texture. And you can make it with all one kind of branch. Doesn't matter, that's fine. But just so you see what's in here. And then we also have some accent plants. So we have some spruce and some scotch. And again, these are all about accent. Just a variety of different greens. So we have a white pine here. We've got some spruce in here, just texture and character, no big deal. You don't have to have them if you're harvesting all your own greens, no big deal. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab these greens, and I usually grab them about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches from the very bottom here. Because now what you're going to do is you're just going to poke this into that styrofoam ball. And you're going to keep doing it over and over and over. Just randomly poking it in there. Now a lot of people are worried about, oh, they're going to fall out. If you poke them in there 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2, you're going to be absolutely fine. But we're just going to randomly poke these in. You're going to turn them, you know, upside down, sideways, doesn't matter. Just again, very, very random. Don't forget the bottom. And we're just going to go through and poke these things in here. If you find that you have some that are a little too long, you can easily cut them with the wire cutters. Wire cutters are not included in the kits, but would be a good idea if you had a pair handy. So again, we're just going to go through and continue to poke these in here like this, just very random. I'm mixing in the flats and the doubles. Whatever comes to hand is what I'm poking in there. And I spin it as I'm doing this. I am also keeping my hand on the back side opposite of where I'm poking in, just so I can hold on to the ball. Otherwise you try and poke them in and it's one of these numbers. So just holding on to that ball. This is not a very delicate job. In fact, this is really good for people of all ages, including young kids. There's not much they can do to hurt themselves. It's fun and easy. So it really can be a family project if you'd like it to be. If you're really ambitious, you can go out and pick your own greens. I harvest off from mature evergreens that I have a lot of myself. So, you know, trees being renewable, they don't mind a little bit of pruning, and it can be a great activity for you and the kids to get outside. Now this year it's getting a little late already, but thankfully we don't have any snow. So if you're looking to do this again for next year, there's a good time to harvest your greens. Now, you may wonder, how long are these going to hold up? And these will hold up for usually an easy 2 months. So the reason they will do that is because I harvested them at the right time. And you may ask, what is the right time? Well, in the fall, as the trees start to go dormant, I usually wait till there's 2 good hard frosts on them. And if there's an occasional freeze, that's okay. So weather-wise, what does that mean? Well, it varies from year to year, obviously. We live in Wisconsin, so some years we can have snow in October, and other years we won't get snow until December, January. But I like to harvest somewhere around, let's just say late October, early November, but that can vary a little bit. And what that has done is that means that almost certainly my evergreens have had enough time to get those 2 good frosts on them. That's what sets the needles and looks good. Of course, there's all sorts of other variables, is there enough moisture out there and whatever, but generally speaking, that's how I know it's time to harvest. Usually after most of your garden chores are done, you get a little bit of extra time. Maybe you're going to head up north for some of that late season activity. It's a good time to go ahead and harvest them. You can use any kind of green you want, whether you want to do all cedar, you want to do all balsam, you want to do a mix, does not matter. Now you might notice that I am using the balsam right now, and I set the accent plants aside for later. The reason being is I like to add them once I have my bulb mostly done. Okay. And these are very, very sturdy. If you're sticking them in, you can be pretty confident that these are going to hold up for a while for you. So you can stick them out in those windy porches and whatever. It's always nice to have something pretty and green. Some people say, well, what's a kissing ball? Where did that come from? Kissing balls have been around for a very, very long time. They're actually the original mistletoe. So back in medieval ages, people made these. They were kind of a good luck piece that you would make and hang by your household, by your door. And then eventually they became the kissing ball. People would meet underneath there and lovers would kiss. And it was always a really fun thing. And a lot of places where kissing balls were, mistletoe didn't grow. So this was their version of mistletoe and kissing under the mistletoe. Well, it's stayed with us for a long time, obviously. And again, lots of fun. Very interesting thing to do. And as I'm going around, you notice I just keep spinning and turning. Not looking to fill any particular spot at one time. It is actually best if you're nice and random sticking it in. So I'll grab it and turn it over. The tendency is you spin and you do a lot of the side, but you may forget to do the bottom. Remember that when these are hanging, a lot of times they're hanging a little higher up so people will see the bottom. Now you notice I'm not cutting many of these greens. I like mine just a little bit longer, but if it bothers you or you think it's going to be too shaggy, you can certainly feel free to cut these down a bit. In your kits, the boughs are cut to between 8 and 10 inches, give or take. So you can feel free to do some more cutting if you like. It's all, again, a personal preference, and there's no right or wrong. And the longer the branches are, when you put them in, the bigger the ball is going to be. Now, having said that, you might think, oh, I can make this really monster one. And you could, but if your branches get too long, they get very droopy. So you don't necessarily want it as long as you might think you'd go. 12 inches is pretty much the most. Now, if you did want a really, really big ball, then I would go ahead and get a bigger styrofoam. Styrofoam balls come in a lot of different sizes. Now, that was one thing in the beginning that I didn't talk about is, what if you want to make your own? What if you want to buy a kit? Well, there's a couple different kinds of styrofoam on the market. So one is floral foam, which we're used to seeing green. And you can use floral foam, absolutely fine. Or what we have here, what's called open cell styrofoam. And what that means is it's rough on the outside and has little pockets if you look at it closely. The other one is closed cell styrofoam. So it's a very smooth exterior and it's very, very hard. I do not recommend you try use the closed foam. It's nearly impossible to poke these in there without pre-drilling your holes. Just not worth it for what you're going to do. You know, get the open cell styrofoam available in most all craft places. But the other thing I'd mention to you is get it early because they do tend to sell out fairly quickly once you hit November. So when you're out in the craft store and you're thinking about things, think ahead enough to get your styrofoam ball early. This is just a basic garden hook, so your hanging baskets outside, that's all it is. It's just a hook from your hanging baskets. All right, so I'm just continuing my way around. Now, again, if you have any questions or concerns, you can certainly contact us here at Hsu's. And our office number here is 715-675-5856. And just feel free to give us a call and ask questions. You can email us. We certainly are very glad to help you out wherever possible. Again, just continuing to poke holes in wherever I see white. Getting almost to the point where I'm going to start adding some accent to it. If a few pieces fall out, that just means you didn't poke them in quite far enough. No worries. Just go ahead and poke some more in. If you get into something that looks a little bad, and sometimes that happens. I mean, this is Mother Nature making these greens. Then just go ahead, toss it on the floor and move on. There are extra greens in your kit. You won't have to worry about running out. Most people do not use all of them, and that is perfectly fine. As you get further along, you find it gets a little harder to actually fit something in here. You've got so many boughs already in place here. That's okay. Makes a nice full one for you. And just looking, seeing where I see white. I do want to leave enough space here though that I can fit a few of my accent plants in. Check the bottom, looking pretty good. I don't have a Sputnik yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a quick peek around and I'm going to look and see if there's any place that I think could use maybe just a little bit more filling in. All again, personal preference. You don't have to worry about it. You can do a little bit of pruning later if you got a few, like this one's a little long. So my option is to either cut it or shove it in a little farther, whatever works for you. Right? One more, I think, in here before I go to my accent plants. Okay. I like to leave the accent plants last because then I can kind of place it where I want it. I like having something up on top. That's just a personal preference. So I'm going to stick in. That one was a white pine. I'm going to go ahead and grab a spruce and stick in here. And I'm going to grab some more and just flip this around to the other side. Another one, maybe we're going to go down here. If something is bothering you, just take it up, turn it around, do something different with it. Okay, sticking in some more white pine. Some more spruce. All right, and you could continue to stuff more in here. And if you choose to, certainly go ahead, that's fine. But I'm going to go on to the next stage of our project now. So as I mentioned, if this looks a little wild to you, you can do a little bit of trimming. So I'm just cutting off a few ends here. They look just a little too shaggy for me. I just cut them off. The idea being that you don't want to cut off a lot if you don't have to. I mean, obviously the reason for doing this is to see all this beautiful greens, but it's a little shaggy in one spot, go ahead, do it. This is your creation. It can be any way you want. What I'm going to do next now is I'm going to pull out of our bag. I want to pull out the ribbon. So you're going to need a piece of wire. And your kits already have wire. You will need to cut them. But in here is going to be 5 pieces of ribbon. You're going to have 4 of them that are identical or close to identical, and 1 that's twice as long. Put the long one aside for now and take 2 of the same length ones, and we're actually going to attach it to our hanger. Now with ribbon, you can have one-sided or two-sided ribbon. What that means is the ribbon looks the same front or back. And I like using this kind of ribbon because it doesn't matter if it gets twisted, it always looks pretty. I'm going to take the ends, and I'm basically going to wire them to the top of the bowl at the hanger. And you're going to have a little extra wire here. This is 6, maybe 8 inches. And all I've done is I call it the Wonder Bread twist. I just twisted it on to hold it. Now I take the other 2 of the same length again. So we're working with 4 identical length or close. And I'm going to go opposite of those. So I now have 4 pieces up there. And the tail of the wire that I had left over from the first one, I'm going to take that and I'm just going to twist it on here. Nothing fancy. This is all going to get covered up later on. But you do want to make sure it's good on there so your ribbon doesn't come off. Now I'm going to take my ribbon. Got a little extra wire here. I'm just going to wrap it around and get it gone. Get it out of my way. Tuck it down inside. This wire can be quite pokey. So I'll just be careful of that. And I'm just going to go through and I'm going to separate my ball into 4ths using my ribbon. Just going to kind of place it between the bowls here. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to take another piece of wire. Again, this one is, I don't know, 6, 8 inches, something like that. I'm going to gather my 4 ends and I'm going to gently pull them together at the bottom. And I'm going to simply wire them all together. Nothing fancy. Just take my wire them together at the bottom. And some tails will be a little longer. Tail is just simply the word for the leftover ribbon at the bottom. And some will not. It depends how full your ball is. Now I'm taking one of the pieces of wire and just gently wrapping it around a branch that happens to be in the vicinity. And that's simply just to hold things in place. So that's part of your ribbon. And then you're going to want to go through when you're all said and done and just kind of fine tune it. But for now, we're going to get that just like that. Now I'm going to do again another part of your ribbon work. Okay, so you're going to take this nice long piece. This is like 6 feet long. And we're going to make the most simple basic bow you can imagine. I have my wire. Again, maybe 10 inches, something like that. And this is just a lightweight wire. You don't need anything really strong for this. And in fact, too strong just makes it harder to work with. And I'm going to wrap back and forth. I'm going to aim for 6 loops, I call it. So if you look, all I've done is just simply wrap it back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. A little bit of tail, no big deal. I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to form a U shape with it. My fingers. So just a U-shaped wire. Don't know if you can see that or not. And I'm going to hold this with one hand, take that U-shaped wire and just wrap it right around. We're going to do the Wonder Bread twist again. We're just putting it in the U of that wire and giving it a good tight tug. So it looks like this. Then you can go ahead and start to spread these out. Now you can have as many bows as you want, as many loops, excuse me, and actually bows too. But I'm just going to loosen it up just a little bit. Now this goes up here. And you see why I didn't care, what the top of my 4 pieces of ribbon look like, because I'm going to cover it up. Doesn't matter. And again, a lot of this is up above where you can't see it. So really what you're going to see is this and not anything underneath. Now, also in your bag is what we call a pick. And a pick is simply a decoration for the holidays, or well, actually any time of year. They used to be really popular just for the holidays. Now you can find Easter and you know, Valentine's Day, all that stuff. We're going to take this and we're going to go back up on top. And I'm going to stick it down in the center alongside the hanger. And I happen to have a little piece of wire here that is left over from one of my other wire projects up here. No need for an additional one. And I'm simply wrapping it around the hanger and my pick. Okay. So what I did is I took that pick and I slid it down by the hanger and just wired it around. That was it. Okay, so now we've got this. And again, this ribbon has wire in it, very fine wire along the edges, so you can shape these a little bit. And you're going to continue to shape and adjust them all along. It's just how it is. Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick peek, make sure that everything is kind of where I want it to be. You know, pull the branches aside a little bit. Now the next step to it is back to our kit. We're going to pull out. You should have 4 of these little picks in here, and an equal number of pine cones, if not more. So how we're going to wire our pine cones, again, very simple. Same thing that we did before. We're going to take a wire and make a U shape out of it. Again, depends on the length of wire, but you're looking for 6 or 8 inches. The very, very bottom of your pine cone, just a couple scales in, you're going to wrap it around and give it a twist. That's it. Now you're wired in. Then I'm going to take my colored pick, my little one, and I'm going to do the same thing here where I stick it at the bottom and wrap it just a little bit around that. And now we've got our decoration that can go in. So I'm going to go in quarters and quadrants, and I'm going to grab a branch that's kind of hanging out just a little bit. And when I say out, I mean toward the outside. The fun thing about wire is that it allows you to make adjustments on the fly to the positioning. People say, well, why don't you use hot glue? Well, hot glue works okay, but I found that sometimes in the cold and the wind, it does actually let go. So I just do the wire. It's easy enough, something I generally have around the house. Now I'm going to go around to here, grab another spot here, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just gently wiring this decoration into the greens that are already here. Nothing fancy. And then as I go through, I make adjustments, kind of turn the pine cone a little bit. My berries are off. You know, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I think I like it this way a little, like it that way a little. And I'm just continuing to do the same thing with the other 4 pine cones and 4 pieces of pick. So we're just going to keep moving. And whether you want to go up or you want to go down, that's really a personal preference. Again, this is the nice thing about doing this kind of work, is it can be whatever you want it to be. All right, that one's done. And then we have one more. Now, do you want to get a little gussied up a little bit, add some decorations? I thought down at the bottom might be real nice to have a nice big Christmas ornament down there. You can color coordinate these. So we picked red and gold because those are some of the traditional colors. Also, it's considered good luck in the Asian world to use the colors of red and gold. So good luck and prosperity. So another good reason to use them, but they're just really fun colors. All right, I'm going to put the last one on here, over here. And there we go. Now there is extra pine cones. If you wanted to add more, you certainly could. And then, as I said, you're going to be working on, you're going to make some adjustments here so it lays just the way you want. But this is a basic kissing ball. And look how easy that was. What do we do that in? 20, 30 minutes. Really fun. Again, it's a great activity for families and kids. Get the girls together and do this, or better yet, get the guys and the girls together. So it could be really fun. Guys always had some enjoyment to the process that we ladies don't always think of. There it is. Thank you so much for being a part of our holidays and our day. Enjoy.